There are moments in life when the walls seem too high, the mountains too steep, and the night far too dark to ever see the light again. You may find yourself standing in the midst of a trial so heavy, so crushing, that it feels as though the very breath has been squeezed from your lungs. And in those moments, your heart cries out, is there a way out? Can there be hope beyond this pain? I am here to tell you with every ounce of faith in my soul that yes, there is a way. God will make a way. You may not see it now, you may not feel it now, but you must believe in miracles. Because the God we serve is not a man who operates by the limits of human understanding. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And He is still in the miracle-working business. You see, our problem is not that God has stopped performing miracles. Our problem is that we've stopped believing. We've become so conditioned by disappointment, so weathered by delay, and so bruised by betrayal that we've allowed our hope to be drained from the wellspring of our soul. But let me tell you something today. Miracles are not relics of the past. They are the present promise of a living, breathing, all-powerful God. The Red Sea did not part by accident. The walls of Jericho did not fall because of coincidence. The blind did not see, the lame did not walk, and the dead did not rise because of human effort. These things happened because God made a way where there was no way, and He will do it again. He will do it for you. I do not know the storm you're facing. I do not know the weight you're carrying, but I do know the God who holds the wind in His hands and the stars in His command. I know the God who hung the galaxies in place and still takes the time to number every hair on your head. That same God sees you. He sees your pain. He hears your cries. And He is not ignoring you. He is preparing a miracle for you. But you must believe. You must believe not because everything around you makes sense, but because faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Faith does not require evidence, it creates it. Some of you are waiting for the waters to part before you take a step. But God says, take a step and I'll part the waters. He's waiting for your faith to meet His power. And when the two collide, the miraculous will be born. Don't let your circumstances silence your belief. Don't let the delay discourage your trust. There is power in persistent faith. There is strength in believing when the world calls you foolish. There is divine movement when a child of God stands on the promises of heaven and says, I believe. God has never been limited by what limits man. He has never looked at a closed door and said, that's too strong for me. He has never stood beside a grave and said, I can't raise that. No! He speaks and dry bones come to life. He breathes and chaos bows to peace. When He says go, the universe moves. When He says be still, the storm surrenders. That is the God we serve. And He is not finished with you yet. You may feel forgotten, but God remembers. You may feel surrounded, but God is protecting. You may feel stuck, but God is preparing. Believe in miracles, even when everything around you screams impossible, because impossible is the platform upon which God reveals His glory. It is in the barren wilderness that God sends manna from heaven. It is in the middle of the sea that He walks on water. It is in the fiery furnace that He shows up as the fourth man. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Your impossibility is God's opportunity. But belief is not passive. It is not sitting with folded hands waiting for the sky to split open. Belief is active. It means waking up and declaring, my God is able. It means looking at the mountain and saying, you will move. It means praising in the prison, singing in the storm, and dancing in the drought. Because faith doesn't wait for the miracle to rejoice, it rejoices in anticipation. The devil wants you to doubt. He wants you to give up before the breakthrough comes. He knows that if he can suffocate your faith, he can stall your future. But you must rise above that whisper of despair. You must stand even trembling and declare, I will believe. My miracle is coming. And let me say this, just because the miracle does not come the way you expect does not mean God didn't answer. We look for burning bushes, but God sometimes whispers in the wind. We expect the earthquake, but He shows up in the still small voice. We want the immediate, but God sees the eternal. Trust His way, trust His timing, trust His hand, even when you cannot see His plan. Because the way may not look like the road you envision, but it will always lead to His purpose. Some of you have allowed your past to become the prison of your future. You think because you've failed, because you've fallen, because you've been broken, that you are disqualified from the miraculous, but that's a lie. God does not use perfect vessels, He uses willing ones. He does not require perfection, He requires surrender. Stop looking at your scars as disqualifications and start seeing them as testimony. Your story is not over. Your miracle is not behind you, it's ahead. But you must stop looking in the rearview mirror of regret and start walking forward in faith. There are moments in Scripture that should shake us to our core. Moments when the natural collided with the supernatural. Moments when a woman reached out and touched the hem of His garment and was instantly healed. That was not magic. That was faith. That was belief. That was someone so desperate, so determined, so fully convinced that if she could just touch Jesus, everything would change. Do you have that kind of desperation? Do you have that kind of faith? Because God honors faith that refuses to back down. The enemy wants you to think that your situation is too messy, too far gone, too complex for God. But the devil is a liar. There is no pit so deep that God's love cannot reach. There is no sin so dark that His grace cannot redeem. There is no illness, no addiction, no financial crisis, no broken relationship beyond the reach of His power. Believe in miracles. Believe not because of what you see, but because of who He is. He is Jehovah Jireh, your provider. He is Jehovah Rapha, your healer. He is El Shaddai, your Almighty. He is the God who makes a way. And let me tell you, miracles are not just physical. Sometimes the greatest miracle is peace in the middle of chaos. Sometimes it's joy and sorrow. Sometimes it's the strength to stand when everything inside of you wants to collapse. These too are miracles. Don't underestimate them. Don't overlook them. Because the same God who raised Lazarus from the dead is the same God who lifts your spirit when you're on the verge of despair. He is still doing it. He is still making a way. You may say, but I've been praying for so long. I've been asking, seeking, knocking. Keep knocking. Keep seeking. Keep asking. God is not deaf to your cry. He stores every tear. He hears every groan. He sees every act of faith, no matter how small. And in the fullness of time, He will answer. Not always in the way you expect, but always in the way that is best. And when He does, you will look back and say, only God could have done this. Some of you are standing at the edge of your own Red Sea right now. You see the water before you and the enemy behind you, and fear is tightening its grip around your heart. But I say to you, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. You don't have to have the answers. You don't have to have the strength. All you need is the faith to believe that He will make a way. The sea may not part until the last moment, but it will part because our God is faithful. Lift your eyes, dear soul. Lift them higher than your circumstance, higher than your doubt, higher than your pain. Lift them to the hills from whence comes your help. Your help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. He is your keeper, your shade at your right hand. He is your miracle. The enemy trembles when a believer chooses to trust God in the middle of hell. When you say, I still believe, even when your world is falling apart, the kingdom of darkness shakes. Because that kind of faith moves heaven. That kind of faith breaks chains. That kind of faith calls forth angels. That kind of faith releases miracles. So rise up, not in your strength, but in His. Rise up with the sword of the Spirit in one hand and the shield of faith in the other. Declare war on doubt. Reject despair. Silence the voice of fear. Speak life over your situation. Speak hope over your household. Speak healing over your body. Speak restoration over your soul. Because life and death are in the power of the tongue, and it is time to speak your miracle into being. God is not finished. He has not abandoned you. He has not turned His back. He is closer than your next breath. And though the enemy may roar, though the storm may rage, your God is stronger. He is greater. He is more than able. And if you will only believe, you will see the glory of God in ways you never imagined. This is not the end. This is not your defeat. This is not your burial. This is the beginning of your testimony. This is the seedbed of your miracle. So don't stop now. Don't turn back. Don't quit. Keep believing. Keep praying. Keep declaring. Keep trusting. The way is being made. The breakthrough is being prepared. The miracle is on the way. And when it comes, and it will commit, will be so clear, so undeniable, that all you will be able to say is, the Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Believe in miracles. God will make a way. And when you find yourself pressed on every side, when the night grows thick with silence and no answer seems to come, I want you to remember something vital. Your silence does not mean God's absence. Just because He has not spoken yet does not mean He has stopped working. His silence is not His indifference. His silence is a sacred pause, a divine stillness where your faith is tested and your roots are driven deeper. That's where trust is forged. That's where warriors of faith are born. In the furnace of delay, in the hallway between asking and receiving, in the stillness where you learn to cling to God, not for what He gives, but for who He is. Let me tell you something you may not want to hear, but your spirit needs to receive. Sometimes God withholds the visible miracle so He can perform the invisible one. You're praying for the storm to stop, but He's calming the storm inside your soul. You're asking for the door to open, but He's strengthening your character to carry the weight of the blessing behind it. The greatest miracles are not always the ones that change your circumstances. They are the ones that change you. God is not a vending machine where you insert a prayer and instantly get a miracle. No, He is a Father. And like any loving father, He knows when to give, when to wait, and when to say no, because He sees the end from the beginning. He's not just trying to get you through a moment. He's shaping your eternity. He's building a testimony in you that will shake generations. And what feels like a delay may actually be divine orchestration. What feels like rejection may actually be redirection. What feels like silence may actually be the setup for a suddenly, because that's how God moves suddenly. Suddenly the chains fell off. Suddenly there was a sound from heaven like a mighty rushing wind. Suddenly the lame walked, the deaf heard, the blind saw. Suddenly the tomb was empty and death was defeated. And I declare to you today, suddenly is coming to your life. Not because of who you are, but because of who He is. He is faithful. He is true. He is unstoppable. And He delights in doing the impossible for those who dare to believe. There is no storm He cannot calm, no giant He cannot slay, no prison He cannot shake, No sin He cannot forgive. No wound He cannot heal. No need He cannot meet. So lift your eyes higher than the pain. Lift them beyond the horizon of fear. Lift them to the throne of grace where miracles are not only possible, they are promised to those who believe. But make no mistake, believing is not always easy. It is not for the faint of heart. It is warfare. It is choosing to stand when you feel like falling. It is declaring God's goodness when all you see is chaos. It is praising when you feel broken. It is walking on water when the wind is howling and the waves are raging. It is refusing to let the storm drown your song. It is holding on to the promise when every voice in hell tells you it's over. You need to understand, the greatest threat to your miracle is not your enemy, it is your own unbelief. When Peter walked on water, it wasn't the storm that made him sink. It was the moment he took his eyes off Jesus. That's the moment he began to drown. And that's the lesson for you today. Keep your eyes fixed on the miracle worker, not the storm. Keep your heart tuned to His voice, not the noise of fear. Keep your spirit anchored in truth, not the shifting sand of emotion. Faith is not ignoring reality, it's overriding it with truth. It's saying, yes, I see the storm, but I believe in the one who commands it. It's saying, yes, I feel the pain, but I trust the healer more than the hurt. It's saying, yes, I hear the report, but I know the final word belongs to God. And that kind of faith will not only survive the fire, will bring you out, not even smelling like smoke. Some of you have accepted defeat too quickly. You've surrendered the battle before you ever saw the victory. You've said things like, maybe it's not meant to be, or maybe God changed His mind. No, friend, God does not change His mind like man. His promises are not yes today and no tomorrow. They are yes and amen. If He said it, He will do it. If He promised it, He will perform it. His word does not return void. It accomplishes what He sent it to do. So don't you dare bury what God told you to believe for. Don't you dare give up on the promise He planted in your soul. Water it with tears if you must, but never let it die, because that seed will sprout. That dream will live. That door will open. I speak to those who feel like their best days are behind them, the ones who say, I've missed my moment. Listen to me. God is not limited by time. He does not operate on man's calendar. What you call too late, He calls right on time. Abraham was 100 years old when his miracle came. Sarah was barren, but still gave birth to the promise. Lazarus was 4 days dead, and yet Jesus stood at his tomb and called him out. If God can raise the dead, He can resurrect your purpose. He can breathe life into your calling. He can restart what you thought was over. And to those of you who've been betrayed, abandoned, or overlooked, I see you. More importantly, God sees you. He has not abandoned you to the cruelty of your circumstance. He is near to the brokenhearted. He lifts those crushed in spirit. He gathers every tear in a bottle and records your pain in His book. Nothing you've walked through is wasted. No valley is without purpose. No heartbreak is without redemption. The God who allowed the wound will use it for your witness, and the miracle you're believing for will not only bless you, it will bless everyone who sees what God has done. Because miracles are never just about you. They are revelations of God's power to the world. They are testimonies that echo through generations. When God makes a way in your wilderness, others will see and say, truly, the Lord has been with them. When He lifts you from the ashes, others will know that He alone restores what was lost. Your miracle is not just personalities prophetic. It is God writing His name across the pages of your life so the world might believe. So press on, press forward, Walk by faith, not by sight. Pray like it's already done. Praise like the walls have already fallen. Speak life like the answer is already here. Because the more you praise, the more you proclaim His greatness, the more your spirit aligns with heaven's reality. Your voice becomes a trumpet in the spiritual realm, and heaven moves in response to the sound of faith. God inhabits the praises of His people, and where He inhabits, miracles break out. I say again, do not grow weary in doing good, for in due season you will reap if you do not faint. That promise is not a maybe, it is a guarantee. The season may be long, but the harvest is coming. The night may be dark, but the morning will break. The tears may fall, but joy comes in the morning. Hold fast. Keep believing. God is not a man that He should lie. He will make a way. And that way might not be what you envisioned. It might not be the path you planned, but it will be perfect. It will be glorious. And when you step into it, you will know that every delay was divine. Every tear was watered with purpose. Every battle trained your hands for war. Every scar became a trophy of grace. And when you finally see what He has prepared for you, you'll understand why the wait was necessary, why the battle was fierce, and why your belief was worth everything. God is not merely writing a happy ending for your life. He is writing a resurrection story, a story where death is defied, where hope rises from ashes, where the impossible becomes reality. So lean in, beloved. Lean into the promise. Lean into the presence. Lean into the miracle. Because the same God who split the sea, who shut the mouths of lions, who multiplied loaves and fish, who conquered the grave, He is the God who stands beside you now, and He is still making a way. Believe. Just believe. And watch what God will do. The Spirit of the Lord is still moving still, calling out to hearts that have grown weary, still reaching into situations that seem beyond repair. You may be standing in the ashes of what once was, looking around at broken pieces and shattered dreams, wondering how God could possibly rebuild something beautiful from the ruins. But listen closely. Our God is the master restorer. He is the potter who never discards the clay. When man sees something ruined, God sees something redeemable. And where others see an ending, God sees a new beginning. The very thing you think disqualifies you might be the very thing God uses to display His glory. He does not wait for the perfect conditions to bring forth His power. He brings perfect power into imperfect places. That's who He is. That's who He has always been. He brought water from a rock, honey from a carcass, light from darkness. He took Joseph from the pit to the palace. He took David from the pasture to the throne. He took Paul from persecution to proclamation. And He will take you from your wilderness into your promise if you will only believe. But belief must grow stronger than your feelings. You may feel tired, you may feel forgotten, you may feel like you're surrounded by enemies, fear, or failure. But you are not called to walk by feelings, you are called to walk by faith. Feelings are fleeting. But faith is the substance of what you hope for, it is the proof of what you cannot yet see. And that kind of faith is what shakes the heavens. That kind of faith is what reaches into the supernatural and pulls it into your reality. That kind of faith is what says to the crippled, rise up and walk, and to the storm be still. The question is not, can God do it? The question is, do you believe He will? Because He is able. There is no shortage in His storehouse. There is no power He lacks. No authority He does not possess. He sits high above every throne, every ruler, every power of darkness. The earth is His footstool, and yet He bends low to listen when you call. He does not just hear your prayers, He responds to them. He does not just notice your pain, He carries it. And when the time is right, when the fullness of heaven's clock strikes the appointed hour, He will come through like fire on the altar, like wind through the upper room, like light bursting through the tomb. That is the God you are trusting. And if you need a miracle, don't look to the world to find it. Look to the throne. Man will fail you. Systems will collapse. Promises will be broken. But there is one whose word stands forever. He is the Rock of Ages, the cornerstone, the Alpha and the Omega. What He says, He will do. What He begins, He will finish. And when you are in covenant with Him, you are not walking alone, you are walking with the Waymaker Himself. Even now, God is orchestrating connections you cannot see, aligning events that you have not yet discovered. He is speaking into rooms you haven't entered and fighting battles you haven't even noticed. That's the supernatural provision of the God you serve. He's preparing blessings that your hands haven't touched, miracles your mind hasn't imagined, breakthroughs your heart hasn't dared to hope for. And all He asks of you is this: believe. Don't analyze it. Don't try to calculate it. Just believe. Faith is not a formula. It's a fire. It's a force that moves you when nothing else can. It's what keeps you standing when logic says sit down. It's what keeps you walking when others have given up. And it's what God responds to, talent, not title, not popularity faith. It was faith that caused the woman with the issue of blood to push through the crowd. It was faith that caused the centurion to say, "Speak the word only, and my servant will be healed." It was faith that caused the friends of the paralyzed man to rip open the roof to get him to Jesus. And it is that same faith alive in you that will open the floodgates of heaven. Do you realize how powerful your belief is? When you choose to believe in the face of adversity, you become a vessel of divine power. When you choose to declare, God will make a way, even when there is no sign of the way, you are declaring war on hell's assignment over your life. You are pushing back darkness with the authority of heaven. You are testifying to angels and demons alike that your God still reigns and that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. This is not a time for weak-willed, half-hearted faith. This is the hour for fierce belief, the kind that refuses to bow to circumstance. The kind that says, even if He doesn't do it my way, I will still trust Him. The kind that worships in the waiting and praises in the prison. Because that kind of faith doesn't just wait for the miracle, it is the miracle. And when your faith aligns with heaven, heaven invades earth. Don't you know your prayers echo in eternity? Your obedience activates angels. Your belief touches the heart of God. He delights in faith. He rejoices over it. He rewards it. And when He sees a soul that says, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief, He does not despise it. He responds with mercy. He meets you where you are and lifts you where only He can take you. So let your faith rise like a banner over your life. Let it shout louder than your fears. Let it blaze hotter than your trials. Let it become the anthem of your soul. My God is a waymaker. My God is a miracle worker. My God will not fail. And let that fire consume every doubt, every lie, every whisper of the enemy. Because if God be for you, who can be against you? He has already made a way through the blood of His Son. That cross on Calvary was not just an act of love, it was a declaration of power. It tore the veil. It shattered the curse. It opened the gates of heaven. It made a way when there was no way. And if He gave His Son for you, how will He not also give you all things? You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not fighting alone. You are chosen. You are called. You are blood-bought, and you are destined for a miracle. Don't live beneath your inheritance. Don't settle for what the world says you can have when God has promised more. Don't shrink your dreams to fit your resources. Expand your faith to match His promises. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He speaks and galaxies are born. He breathes and nations rise. Do you really think your problem is too big for Him? Do you really believe your need can outweigh His supply? Lift your voice. Declare His word. Walk like it's already done. Praise like the answer is already here. Because when the people of God begin to move in bold, unshakable faith, the power of God begins to break out in ways this world cannot explain. Miracles are not fairy tales. They are the fingerprints of God upon the earth. They are His way of showing you, I am still here, I am still working, I am still God. So wherever you are right now, whether in a hospital room or a quiet place of prayer, whether in a valley of tears or on the edge of breakthrough, I challenge you, lift up your faith. Let it roar from your soul. Let it rise above the storm. Let it speak louder than the fear. Because the God who parts seas, the God who opens wombs, the God who raises the dead, is the same God who says to you today, I will make a way. And He will. Believe it, stand on it, speak it, live it, because when you believe in miracles, the God of miracles comes running. Right now, in this very moment, I urge you, turn your heart fully to God. Lay it all down. Every fear, every burden, every unanswered question, lay it at His feet and say, Lord, I believe. Not because everything around you is perfect, but because you know that the one who holds the stars in place also holds your future. Let that belief become the fire that consumes every shadow of doubt. Let it lift you from the pit of despair and set your feet on the solid rock of His promises. You were not created to live in fear. You were not called to walk in defeat. You are a child of the Most High God, and He has destined you for victory. Do not waste another moment living beneath your calling. Do not allow the opinions of men, the weight of the past, or the fear of failure to keep you bound. It is time to rise. It is time to shake off the dust and step into the fullness of who God has called you to be. He has written your name on the palm of His hand. He has appointed you for such a time as this. And the miracle you are believing for, it is not just possible, it is promised, for all things are possible to them that believe. God is not waiting on the right conditions. He is waiting on your surrender. So examine your heart. Tear down every idol. Repent of every compromise. Return to your first love. Make room for the miraculous by clearing out the clutter of unbelief. Let your soul cry out once more, God, have your way in me, and He will. He will take your broken pieces and make something beautiful. He will take your weakness and clothe you with strength. He will take your dry season and pour out rivers of living water. He will lift your eyes, restore your hope, and reignite your purpose. Now is the time. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Choose faith over fear. Choose obedience over comfort. Choose to believe when it doesn't make sense. Choose to praise when the tears are still falling. Choose to walk forward even when you can't yet see the road. And as you do, the heavens will move. Angels will be dispatched. Chains will be broken. And miracles will begin to unfold. Not because you are perfect, but because you dared to believe. Leave this moment changed. Leave it charged with the fire of faith. Let your life become a living testimony that when you believe in miracles, God does make a way. He always has. He always will. And He will do it again for you. So go forward, not in fear, but in fierce, unrelenting trust. For the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, the God who parts seas and raises the dead, is the same God who walks with you now. Believe, stand, obey. and watch Him make a way where there seemed to be none. Let your life shout to the world, I believed and God moved.